Hello, my name's Anne-Marie and I'm a textile artist, and I've been putting your craft kit together this time, and we're going to be making something like this. So it's a sewing activity or a gluing activity. Your kit will contain lots of different fabrics, embellishments, buttons, sequins, different materials that you can arrange and attach onto a piece of fabric in an embroidery hoop. And you can see that I've included some letters, some hand stitching, and there are buttons and hearts and flowers. So we've taken that as our theme, hearts and flowers, but you can use any shapes and any motifs that you like. So there's no right or wrong, just have fun and hopefully you will enjoy the activity. So in your kit you will receive various things inside. You've got an embroidery hoop, some base fabric, there are some fabrics here on the side, and then some little bags which have various things in. One has got sequins, buttons, beads, another one with small fabrics and your needles and some thread, and the third bag has got lots of different embellishments, some more buttons, big ones, bits of wooden shaped items, bits of paper, all sorts of things in there for you to use, and your base fabric. So I'm going to show you just how to attach your fabric to your hoop. So you need to unscrew the hoop just enough to release this inner ring. Okay, so that should come out. Then you need to take your fabric, put it over, make sure that it will fit all the way around, and then you're going to put this back on the top. It should just squeeze over the top. Shouldn't need to force it too much. Oops. That's it. Okay. But you will need to pull it through a little bit. So just tighten it very slightly, turn it over, and then start to pull so that you're taking up some of the slack to make it really tight. So pull it all the way around. And you can tighten it a little bit more. It won't close completely, but just keep tightening, and it should be getting quite firm on that side. Again, you can pull through gently on the back. And then do your final tightening. So that should be ready to use. Now in your bag you have some squares of fabric, and the first thing to do is to maybe take those squares of fabric and to cut them or cut into them different shapes, whatever you like. We're going with a sort of hearts and flowers theme, but you can do any shapes that you want to. You can cut them freehand. So you can just cut them freehand, or if you want to, you can draw onto the fabric first, which I'll do in a second. So you can cut them freehand, or draw onto them. I'll just do a simple flower sort of shape on the back. Pen might be better than a pencil. Pencil is a bit hard to see. You can draw on them, or you can draw around a stencil if that's easier. So you can make a paper stencil, put it on, and then draw around that. And then you've got guidelines for your cutting. Okay, and then you can cut them out. So I've already done that. And I've also started to kind of assemble a plan of what I want it to look like. So what's nice about this is you can keep trying things, you can keep moving things around, you can see what looks good, whether you're going to put some things on top of other things, you might want to layer them up. So have fun just placing your elements, see what you like. You might decide something like this. It's entirely up to you. You can use as few or as many of the things as you like. There's no rules, there's no right or wrong. So try a few out, see what you think, and then you can keep that at one side while you start your actual piece. So we thought it might be quite nice for you to include the Women of Yardley Unite kind of idea. So I'm going to include that at the bottom. You might want to put a slogan on, you might want to put a word on, or your name, or whatever it is you want, but I'm going to put the WOYUing. And I'm going to put that on first because I'll want to see that when my design is finished. So, and I want to make sure I've left room for it. Now, I've already threaded up my embroidery thread. So this is the thick thread. You can use it as thick as this, or if you wanted to, you can split it in half and use a half thickness, but the needle will take the full thickness. But if you wanted to split it, you can split it into a thinner yarn. So I'm just going to start. Now, I'm not a great embroiderer, and this task is not about being neat and tidy and having beautiful perfect stitching. It's using the stitching in a way to almost kind of, it's almost like using a pencil, so your stitch can be very much part of the design. So I'm just going to start on the back. I start with 2 little stitches. Some people start with a knot. However you usually would start your sewing, it's entirely up to you. But as I say, it's not a sewing exercise. If you don't like sewing at all, you can even glue everything on, it's up to you. So my 2 little stitches and then back through to the front. So I'm just going to use running stitch for this, which is just a long normal basic stitch. So oops, go back in there. Okay, that's my W, and then back round to the O. So I'm not worried what it looks like on the back at all, so it's all about what it looks like on the front. So I'll come back to you in a minute when I've done that bit. So I've done my letters, and now I'm going to start to put my design on. So I'm just going to take the bits one at a time, starting with the things that are underneath first. So this is my leaf. You don't have to stitch it on around every single element. You just have to, enough stitches to just keep it in place. You can make the stitches as visible as you want to, or as small as you want to. You can use thinner thread if you want to have a finer stitch. But as I said before, I think it's quite nice to see the stitches, so just enough to keep it in place. So keep going until you've got it secure enough. As I say, it doesn't have to be stitched on completely. So you can do simple running stitches, or if you want to, you can stitch over the top like this. So almost as if you were tying it on. And that can become then part of your design. Okay, so you can see different ways of attaching it. Now I'm going to go to my flower over here. I'm not going to undo that. I'm going to keep the thread. As I said, it doesn't matter what it looks like at the back. It can be a tangle of threads at the back. So I'm moving on to the next elements, and I'm going to attach the flower now and the button all together. So as I said before, you don't have to sew every single piece. You can sew a mixture of ideas at once. So it's just going to be the button that will hold this into position, hold all those pieces in position. Oops. And that's all that takes to hold that in position. And then I'm going to carry on adding the next items. Oops. So you can take a bit of time deciding where things are going to go. I might just hold this in a couple of places. And then keep going, keep adding. Get a bit of a loose thread caught on from the back, pull it through. Maybe tag it on there, or could have just tagged it on in the middle. It's entirely up to you. So I'm going to keep adding, and I'll come back to you when I've got a lot more on. So this is my piece finished now, and I have sewn some sequins on using a lighter thread, which is not quite as heavy as the brown. But you can see that some things are just tagged in place, some things are layered. I've done a bit of extra stitching, but I feel it's finished. So to get rid of the scrap now on the back, and you can see it's messy on the back, that's absolutely fine. We're not looking for a neat back. Just make sure you give it that one final pull, just to check it's securely in the hoop. And then just using some scissors, you're just going to trim off all that excess fabric from round the back. Now you can keep your piece in the hoop and hang it on the wall, or you can take it out of the hoop and use more fabric to make more pieces. It's up to you. But the last thing I'm going to show you is just sticking some extra things on the front. So there we are, all finished. So what I'm just going to do, I did say that you could glue some things on, you didn't have to stitch everything. So I'm going to glue some of my remaining things just with a bit of glue, and I'll do this right at the very end. So I'm going to glue a button onto there because I can't stitch onto the wood, and I'm going to glue my rhinestone heart on as well, because I can't get the holes are a bit small to get the needle through. If you've got a fine needle you can stitch it, but I don't, so I'm going to just glue that in position. Oops. And then once that's glued, then the piece is ready to hang. Just neaten up that glue there. There we go. And that will dry clear. So that's it. Hope you enjoy the activity. Thank you. Bye.